Good day. Thank you for joining me on this so interesting discussion topic of systemic awareness. And for some of you, this may be a completely new concept. What is systemic awareness? You've joined this group of systemic solutions, but you may not, or you may know what we are actually talking about. So let me just give you a very tiny insight into systemic awareness. It is the ability to perceive and understand complex systems. So if you look at what are complex systems, your body, your organs, and the way things work with each other, that's a complex system. Families are complex systems. If it were easy, we wouldn't have all the emotional uproars and upbills and joys and laughters and not so good and fights and feuds. Businesses are complex systems. Our country is a complex system. So everything that we look at is actually a system. So if we look at systemic awareness in context of organizations, the way the team works, the way the greater picture is, all that has to fit into one system. And if one part of the system fails, everything fails. So what we look at systemic awareness is, do we look at only the tiny part, or are we going to look at the bigger portion, the bigger part? So that is really what we like to look at, is not just at the one puzzle piece, but at the whole picture, the picture of wholeness, the picture where we can see as much as is possible. So, and then we look at what is practical, what can we look at practically, what is rational, what is doable, what are the different components? And the different components, as they act and interact with one another, is really where we are focused. So systemic awareness is focused in analytical approach, but very scientific. So there's a difference between system and systemic. I'm not going to talk about that now. If you want to know more about the difference with that, leave me a comment below and I'll send you a link where I can share that information with you. So, so what we look at in systemic awareness is when one thing changes, everything else changes. So that's the cause and effect of a system. So in easy terms is, for every action, there's a consequence. We can also say for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. But that's more in the material world. I like to say for every action, for every thought, for every deed, there is a consequence. And so what is the consequence that has resulted from something else? So what is the root cause of what we are experiencing now? So that's where we are focused at. And then we look at families, and I spoke about organizations, I spoke about the country. So systemic awareness is really, really a big, big, big field that we can work at. But the questions I posted on the LinkedIn, where I have put a couple of questions to you in terms of, what is your awareness of a systemic field? What is your awareness? So yes, we work with family and systemic constellations, and you may not know what family or systemic constellations are, or you may know, but whether you know or you don't know, I've posed these questions. And so let's look at the questions. Do you understand systemic awareness in its context? And to what extent do you believe that your actions and your decisions impact a larger system and the environment? Have you ever considered that whatever you do impacts a bigger space and a bigger field around you. It's not just about you. So we live in a world where everything is about us. You are the center of your universe, and you can make all the changes. But are you aware that every change you make has an impact to the world around you? And are you ready for the consequence of the world around you? That's a question. So there's 4 options, and the 4 options are, I don't think my actions have much impact. That could be true. I am somewhat aware of the impact, but it's limited. I see it, but I don't see it. I recognize the impact and take it into account in my decisions. And that's starting to get important. I am aware that there may be a consequence, and whatever I decide, I need to be also aware of the consequence. Or I am highly aware of the impact and strive to align my actions with the system's well-being. So that means is my actions are not just for me. My actions are for me and everybody around me. So whatever I decide needs to not just impact me positively, but all the other people in my field and impact them positively. So that is ultimate systemic awareness on that question. Then we look at holistic decision making. So what do we mean by holistic? The word whole is carried in this holistic. And so the question is, how often do you consider the long-term consequences of your decisions on the systems and environments around you? That's a heavy question. Let me repeat it. How often do you consider the long-term consequences of your decisions on the systems and environments around you? So this morning I read a little story that said this guy's on an island, and he had a bag of garbage because he had a nice retreat for himself, and then he dumped that garbage where nobody saw it. And then the voice in him said, nobody saw it, but you know it. So what does this bag of garbage that he dumped, it's on the island, doesn't really matter, does it? Or does it? So in your holistic decision making, do you really focus on immediate needs? So regarding this story of the island, the question is, do you consider the consequences, the long-term consequences? Really? I mainly focus on my immediate needs. The immediate need was I needed to get rid of this bag of garbage. Occasionally, but it's not a consistent practice. So occasionally, I'm aware that I need to sort out my rubbish, but not all the time. Occasionally, I do certain things in a good way. I'm a good person, but not consistently. Often, I try to balance immediate needs with long-term consequences. So we're getting warmer here. So my immediate needs and my long-term consequence, I'm considering both. Or I always prioritize decisions that align with my personal growth, goals, and values. And for those who've followed this week's thought process, I have spoken a lot about personal growth. And when we talk about personal growth, and many of us, including you, that's why you're here, are on this path of personal growth. So do we prioritize our decisions that align with your personal growth, goals, and values? So consider this. What do your relationships look like? I know I'm a queen of bad relationships. And that's by my own doing. because I didn't understand social systems and relationships, and I didn't understand how they held me back from my personal growth. Or did they hold me back, and are they part of my personal growth? So you need to answer that question for yourself. So I know for me, I didn't see the connection between my personal growth and my relationships, because I felt personal growth was a very intimate, personal decision without the realization that other people are impacted. When I change, and I change my values and I change my beliefs, other people don't know who I am anymore. So it implicates me somewhat, but I haven't really explored it. So I'm aware that I'm making changes, and I'm aware that people around me will have to just take me as I am. Yeah. Yes, I believe it's crucial for my personal growth. So, are your relationships important for your personal growth? You need to ask yourself that question. Absolutely. Interpersonal relationships significantly influence my personal growth. So, the relationships I am in, whether they are good, whether they are bad, they add to your personal growth. Because personal growth is not just about here, I've got this figured out, I've got that sorted out. Often the really, really bad relationship pushes you towards your personal growth. And I know I can say that for myself, that I am so grateful for all the relationships that have influenced me and said to me, wow, Sonia, you deserve good relationships, good people around me that support your personal growth. But in turn, you support their personal growth. And that's basically where I am. And that's what I'm doing right now. So then we have the problem solving skills. And what does systemic awareness have to do with problem solving? So let's look at it. When we work with systemic constellations, we mainly do problem solving, which is why I call this group Systemic Solutions, because there's a solution in every situation, no matter how difficult the problem is. So, how confident are you in your ability to analyze complex problems from a holistic perspective? So, do you see? I'm not talking about looking at a problem from the puzzle piece that I'm looking at. Want to look at the problem from the whole picture. What is the core of this problem? I can't find the core in the puzzle piece. I have to look at the holistic picture. So, how confident are you? Not confident? And learn to focus on surface level issues? Yes, because sometimes looking at a problem means I have to look at something that I'm not prepared to look at. I'm not prepared to look at the pain that created the problem. I'm not prepared to look at the feuds that created the problem. Let's move past that. Let's just focus on the problem. And this is the thing is, when we do that there are patterns, and the patterns will repeat itself, which is why we need to look at the holistic picture. I'm slightly confident, but I struggle with complex problems. Sure, because you see the complex problems when our training is to look at only what is presented. So not seeing the complex picture makes it very difficult to be confident about solving complex problems. Moderately confident, I can analyze some complex issues. And you know what? I've met people that are really, really skilled. I haven't got their brain. And they can see something and they can see all the complex issues around them. So, wow, that's awesome. Or I'm very confident. I excel in analyzing complex problems. And this is where systemic constellations really, really come in, because we see and we map out each of the problems and then we make decisions from there. So it's looking at the big picture. What is under the big picture? What is bubbling underneath that creates the problem that I currently have to solve. And then, what is my adaptability and resilience? Wow, we South Africans are really, really, really the masters of resilience. But not only us. I have come to know so many people across the world, and I take my hat off to them. And I'm thinking, wow, wow, wow. So, how do you react to change and adversity in your personal growth journey? The first time I sort of looked at change and I thought, I am so tired of making changes. I was so resistant to changes. And this is the first thing. I resist change and struggle with adversity. I really, really, really couldn't handle difficult situations. I find changing challenging, but I try to adapt. So, yeah, okay, I have to change and I make the best out of a bad situation. Is that really a good way forward? Because there's still that, not quite happy with the situation. Or I embrace change and view adversity as a chance for growth. And this is where we start getting embracing change. But we can take it one step further. I thrive on change and adversity, using them as opportunities for growth. But yes, change and adversity is giving us opportunities of growth, personal growth, because it's how we manage those changes, how we look at the opportunity for growth in those changes. That's really what it is about. I'm going to put that into my little notebook. It's a key. It's an opportunity for change. Change is an opportunity for growth. Isn't that amazing? When we look at it that way, maybe the resistance will go down a little bit. And then there is decision making, and then there's ethical decision making. To what extent do you consider the ethical and moral complications of your choices in your personal development? Really, I don't prioritize ethics in my decisions. And for many of us, it's a matter of survival. And often in decisions of mere survival, it does not really involve ethics. And that's the sad part. Occasionally, but it's more consistent practice. So sometimes I shouldn't be doing that, but I have no choice. I'm going to do it anyway, not realizing that there is a consequence. So here is what I'm saying. Every choice that I make that is not sitting with my authentic self creates a consequence that's not sitting with my authentic self. So we need to look at it from that point of view. Your authentic self wants to make ethical choices, but your survival self says you've got to survive, whether you like it or not. So you make a choice that's not with your highest values. So often I consider ethics, but it's not always my primary focus. Getting there. I always prioritize ethical decision making. And when we do that, it gets very, very conflicting in us. But when we do that consistently, your life will change because you will truly follow a path that's your true, authentic self. It's a path of your highest personal growth. So look at it from that point of view. And then let's look at contributing to the greater good. So I said earlier on that when we follow a path of systemic awareness, we don't just follow a path for ourselves. We follow a path for ourselves within a path of affecting greater good for everybody around us. And that's a really, really big key. Do you feel that your personal growth journey is connected to making a positive impact on society and your community. Not at all. My focus is solely on individual growth path. Many of us started there. So I'm not saying anything that you shouldn't focus on your personal growth path. But let's take it a little bit further. Somewhat, but it's not major to my journey. It's my journey. And so many of us walk a personal growth path journey because we feel unsupported. We feel it's a lonely path. Even if it's unsupported and a lonely path, shouldn't we consider somebody else, something else? And this is the key where it gets very difficult. I can do my growth path. Let me do it. It's an intimate, individual choice that I'm making. It doesn't have to involve anybody else. And I agree with that. It doesn't have to involve anybody else. Nobody else has to make the choices you're making. But yes, I believe my growth should benefit the greater good. So my growth should benefit the greater good. Wouldn't that be being in service of those around you? Absolutely. Contributing to the greater good is a core part of my personal growth journey. Absolutely. Contributing to the greater good is a core part to my personal growth journey. So it's not about myself, it's about everybody else around me. How is what I do going to impact all those around me? And yes, it's a lifelong learning. It is not just, now I've done the healing and now everything is good. It doesn't work that way. So my question to you is, how committed are you to ongoing learning and growth as part of your personal development journey? Not committed? Sure. Nobody asks you to be committed to something that you don't believe in. Somewhat committed. I occasionally seek new knowledge. With other words, you are searching for something, but you haven't quite found it. And that's okay. We all started off in this path of searching. Moderately committed, I actively pursue lifelong learning. And so whichever way you do it, maybe you do it halfway, maybe you do it 80%. I think anything you do is right for you. But fully committed, I see ongoing learning as essential to personal growth. And this is where I find myself, and you don't have to find yourself here with me. But if you do, let me know and ask the questions that you need to ask me down in the comments below. I'd really, really like to hear your questions and your conflicts with what I've presented here to you today. So thank you for being on this journey with me here today. Thank you for just listening to me today. And I look forward to presenting some more questionings to you in the future. Have an awesome, awesome day. I look forward to more of this type of questioning, and I would like to share it with you. Not because I have a mission that you have to do something different to what you're doing now, but if we all go on a journey, we reconsider not just ourselves, but seeing that whatever we choose in our thoughts, in the way we speak, in the way we do things with the people around us, this world will be a better place. And I'm fully committed to that. Thank you. See you soon.